Throughout history, certain vehicles have become infamous, not for their engineering or design, but for the tragedies and horrors associated with them. These machines of metal and glass witnessed some of humanity's darkest moments, and their stories continue to haunt us decades later. From celebrity tragedies to instruments of evil, these automobiles carry legacies that go far beyond transportation. Today, we're examining 6 cars with deeply disturbing pasts that still captivate and horrify us.
Well, this is it, sir. The newest Ford of them all. The retractable hardtop.
Number 1. On August 31st, 1997, around midnight, a black 1994 Mercedes-Benz S280 became the location of one of the most documented tragedies in modern history. Princess Diana, along with Dottie Fayed, driver Henry Paul, and bodyguard Trevor Reese-Jones. Princess Diana was no stranger to the media, and her security team had planned an evasion attempt from the paparazzi, including deploying a decoy vehicle. They raced at speeds in excess of 80 miles per hour, nearly double the speed limit of the Pont de l'Alma tunnel in Paris, when the vehicle reportedly struck a pillar at high speed and was totaled. Henry Paul and Dottie Fayed succumbed to their injuries almost immediately at the scene, while Diana was rushed to Piété-Salpêtrière Hospital, where unfortunately their desperate attempts to save her failed around 4 a.m. and she passed away. All of England would eventually wake up to hear of the tragic events of earlier that day. Trevor Reese-Jones was the sole survivor of the crash, suffering severe facial injuries that required extensive reconstruction. The Mercedes itself became crucial evidence in the investigation that followed. It was revealed that in 1995, that same vehicle had been in a rollover crash that caused significant structural damage, and still somehow rebuilt and placed back in service for the ill-fated accident. Then a fire in a French police storage room allegedly destroyed the right door of the vehicle, which was later ruled an accident by a judge. The car, as time passed, was presumed to be destroyed. However, according to a tabloid in 2017 that tracked down the location, the mangled vehicle was quietly returned to France and ended up in a police impound yard, where it reportedly remains to this day. The leasing company owner, Jean-François Musa, who technically still owns the vehicle, has demanded its return for nearly 3 decades, with the desire to display it at a museum in the United States, but has received no compliance from French authorities. The royal family and any decent person would obviously not want to make a spectacle of the wreckage. Many Europeans expressed disgust even at the documentary that shared close-up pictures of the mangled remains, so returning it to a civilian to display or sell off as a collector's item is the last thing they want to happen. Supposedly, they are waiting for approval to destroy the vehicle because they don't want it released but need the owner's permission, which would be Musa. So you can see the legal limbo both parties are caught in. Conspiracy theories have swirled for years about the circumstances surrounding that night, including claims of a white Fiat Uno that allegedly made contact with the Mercedes just before the collision. The Fiat Uno was never recovered, and its driver never identified, adding another layer of mystery to an already tragic event. Conspiracy or not, the tragic loss of Princess Diana has continual impact on the royal family and all of Europe, even to this day. Number 2. Few vehicles in criminal history are as chilling as Ted Bundy's light tan 1968 Volkswagen Beetle. This seemingly innocent car was actually designed and modified to become what investigators later described as a rolling dungeon. Bundy, one of America's most notorious individuals, used this vehicle as an instrument in his horrific actions throughout the 1970s. The Beetle was specifically modified for his crimes. Bundy had removed the passenger seat and its inside door handle, trapping his victims inside the car, where they were often handcuffed and restrained. He would often approach potential targets while pretending to be injured, wearing a fake cast and asking for assistance. Once someone was close enough, he would overpower them and use the modified interior to his advantage. Bundy's documented activities began in January 1974 and spanned multiple states: Washington, Oregon, Utah, Idaho, Colorado, and Florida. Although Bundy confessed to 30 murders, some investigators believe he may have been responsible for more than 100. His victims were primarily young women, often college students, whom he would lure to his vehicles under various pretenses. On August 15, 1975, Bundy was first arrested while driving the Beetle without headlights on. Police discovered suspicious items: an ice pick, masks, handcuffs, rope, and a pry bar. Out on bail, Bundy thoroughly scrubbed the van VW and sold it to a Utah teenager. But police seized the car in October when victim Carol DeRanche identified him. Despite his cleaning efforts, forensics revealed bloodstains and hairs from 3 victims inside the vehicle. The car was eventually purchased at a police auction in the late 1970s by a Salt Lake sheriff's deputy named Lonnie Anderson for $925. 20 years later, he attempted to sell it for $25,000, which repulsed victims' families. Today, the vehicle is housed at the Alcatraz East Crime Museum in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, where it serves as a grim reminder of one man's capacity for evil. Visitors to the museum often report feeling deeply unsettled standing near the vehicle.
But any car that gets to the end of that long line of inspectors.
If you're finding these stories as fascinating and disturbing as we are, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We deep dive into history's most interesting automobiles, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Number 3. Isadora Duncan was an American pioneer of modern dance who revolutionized the art form with her free-flowing movements and rejection of classical ballet's constraints. Born in San Francisco, she spent the later part of her life in France. Duncan was no stranger to tragedy, already enduring unimaginable loss. In 1913, both of her young children perished when the car they were in rolled into the Seine River. She never fully recovered from this tragedy. On September 14, 1927, Duncan was a passenger in an Emile car CGSS automobile owned by Benoit Falchetto, a French-Italian mechanic. She wore a long, flowing, hand-painted silk scarf created by Russian-born artist Roman Chatov, a gift from her friend Mary Desty. As the car drove off, the scarf became entangled in the wheel and axle, tightening around Duncan's neck and dragging her from the car onto the cobblestone street, where unfortunately she passed away instantly. Her final words were allegedly, "Adieu mes amis, je vais à la gloire." Translated, that means, "Goodbye my friends, I'm off to glory." Now, those words seem eerily prescient, though some accounts suggest different last words were spoken. It's also debated what type of car Duncan was driving during her accident. Historians disagree whether it was an Emile car or a Bugatti with a similar body style. Writer Gertrude Stein, upon hearing of Duncan's passing, remarked, "Affections can be dangerous," a cutting comment on Duncan's penchant for dramatic flowing scarves that had become her signature. On that ill-fated ride, she had chosen the scarf over a coat, a choice that might have prevented the accident. The manner of her death was so unusual that, in medicine, accidents involving neckwear becoming entangled in machinery are now referred to as Isadora Duncan syndrome. The car that took her life has not been preserved, and its current whereabouts are unknown. Number 4. When millions of Chinese citizens suffered under communist policies that resulted in the greatest famine in human history, the regime's top officials traveled in the ultimate symbols of Western capitalist luxury, Mercedes-Benz limousines. 2 vehicles in particular tell the story of this staggering hypocrisy: Mao Zedong's Pullman Mercedes and his most trusted official's 1965 Mercedes-Benz 600 Grosser. Chen Yi served as mayor of Shanghai from 1949 to 1958, and as China's foreign minister from 1958 to 1972. In 1928, he joined the newly formed Fourth Red Army led by Mao Zedong, beginning a decades-long association with the communist leader. Chen Yi was one of the 10 marshals of the People's Republic and became one of Mao's most trusted officials, actively implementing Mao's diplomatic policies and helping consolidate communist control over China. The 1965 Mercedes-Benz 600 Grosser that Chen Yi owned was actually offered for sale in 2020 through Classic Cars in Pontiac, Michigan for about $250,000. This vehicle represents a direct connection to one of history's most devastating periods. The Mercedes 600 Grosser, known as the Grand Mercedes, was the absolute pinnacle of automotive luxury in the 1960s. Only 2 were imported to China. It featured hydraulic systems for nearly everything and was virtually hand-built, with each vehicle costing the equivalent of several average homes. Mao Zedong even attended Chen's funeral in 1972, his last public appearance, a testament to how important Chen Yi was to the regime. Meanwhile, Mao himself traveled in a custom Pullman Mercedes limousine. According to reports, after Mao's passing in 1976, this vehicle was gifted to one of his personal assistants. The irony is staggering. These men preached equality and condemned Western capitalism, while their politics led to an estimated 40 to 80 million deaths during Mao's rule, particularly during the Great Leap Forward from 1958 to 1962. Yet they traveled in vehicles like these, the pinnacle of Western luxury and excess. These Mercedes limousines stand as physical reminders of the vast gap between communist rhetoric and the reality of how those in power lived, while their citizens starved. Number 5. The tan 1934 Ford four-door deluxe sedan is forever preserved as the location where outlaws Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow met their end on May 23, 1934. Law enforcement officials from Texas and Louisiana ambushed the couple on a rural road near Sales, Louisiana, firing approximately 130 rounds into the vehicle in less than 30 seconds. The car became an instant artifact of Depression-era crime and was immediately seized by authorities. What happened next was equally disturbing. The vehicle became a morbid attraction, touring the country as part of traveling shows where people paid to see the bullet-riddled car and hear stories about the infamous duo. Souvenir hunters were so aggressive that they attempted to cut off locks of Bonnie's hair and pieces of Clyde's clothing while their bodies were still at the scene. There were even fake vehicles on display impersonating the wreck. Today, the elimination car resides at Whiskey Pete's Casino in Primm, Nevada, still showing the estimated 112 bullet holes that ended the couple's violent crime spree. The vehicle stands as a reminder of both the desperation of the Great Depression era and the fascination Americans have with outlaw culture. Visitors can still see the blood-stained upholstery and shattered glass frozen in time as a reminder that violence begets violence. Number 6. James Dean's silver Porsche 550 Spider, which was nicknamed Little Bastard, became one of Hollywood's most infamous vehicles after the actor's death on September 30th, 1955. Dean was driving on California State Route 466 when he collided with a Ford Tudor driven by Donald Turnespede. Turnespede survived the wreck, but Dean, the 24-year-old icon, passed away almost instantly from the impact. But the story of the Little Bastard didn't end there. The wreckage was purchased by custom car designer George Barris, who sold parts of the car to other racing enthusiasts. According to legend, those who acquired parts from the Porsche experienced their own string of bad luck and tragedies, leading many to believe the car was cursed. The chassis toured as part of a highway safety exhibit before mysteriously disappearing in transport in 1960, never to be seen again. The Volo Museum has followed up on several false leads, but the most promising since the car's disappearance came in 2014, when a man claimed that in 1960 his father had been involved in burying the car in Whatcom County, Washington. The details he provided matched the plausible time and location, and he passed a polygraph, though there's been no update on his identity or the wreck's possible resting place. The death of James Dean is also eerily similar to Paul Walker's fatal accident in 2013. Both died in Porsche vehicles in the same state. Both accidents, with more precautions, were avoidable. Both had the same bad boy persona as cultural icons, and both had films released posthumously. James Dean's Giant was released after his death in 1955, while Paul Walker's Hours was released following his death in 2013, the same year they were shooting Furious 7. Then in 2020, a major discovery was made. The original 4-speed transaxle assembly surfaced in rural Massachusetts after being stored in a wooden crate for over 30 years. It was verified by Porsche documentation as the original component bearing the serial number from his car's chassis 55. In May 2021, this piece of Hollywood history was auctioned on Bring a Trailer and sold for $382,000, making it the first confirmed part of James Dean's Porsche ever offered for public sale. And that's 6 vehicles with dark pasts, physical connections to moments that shaped our collective consciousness. Let us know in the comments which car story you found most disturbing and what other historical mysteries you'd like us to explore. Until next time, drive safely.